Well, where was this 20 years ago when I was starting to date?
I know.
Just making mistake after mistake.
Me too. I missed it.
Same, right? Yep. I wish it was taught in high school.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
College?
Yeah. High school, middle school, because that's where some of the kids are starting to get interested in each other. What was the catalyst that got you to go into relationship counseling and relationships?
That's a good question. Well, I got into the whole field of mental health through the outdoor education and adventure. I was doing a lot of work outdoors with kids and teens, rock climbing, rafting, guiding, backpacking trips, and outward bound. And then kind of slowly got exposed to people who were doing this kind of counseling work through an agency I worked for in Bend, Oregon, the very outdoorsy town. And then I decided at that point, well, at some point I want to get more training and have a career, because with the outdoor kind of, it's very seasonal, and like working at a ski area and then going rafting in the summer. So I think at some point I got to be a grown up and have a career. So I went to grad school, and it just all kind of clicked. And then in that grad program at Portland State, got exposed to the Gottman approach in my grad program. So that was the steps.
Was there anything in your research or your journey into this field that you really grabbed onto, or a technique or something, or a study that you just jumped out at you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's kind of foundational, or something I really enjoy?
Well, one of the things that is crucial, and I guess I didn't mention this in the interview necessarily, but the impact of flooding on relationships, of physiological flooding, when people get triggered or flooded with stress hormones, that can happen with a perceived threat. So it happens real quickly. And I didn't realize that happened in some relationships I could think of in my, probably even into my 30s, where I would get flooded and I didn't know what's happening. And so I would kind of shut down and withdraw from the interaction, because I'm a little more conflict avoidant than getting kind of explosive. I had no idea that was happening. So that awareness that it happens like this, it happens automatically and autonomically, and to know that it's okay to say, I need a break, and then to do that self-soothing. So that's one thing that kind of jumps out.
Yeah, I just felt like even learning some of the stuff I've learned from this experience, this podcast, is even if you know it, you don't recognize it when it happens until after the fact. You're like, I should have known better. But yeah, flooding is one of those things. I liked how you came up with is it 5 signs of trust?
Yeah, Dr. Gottman did.
Okay.
Yep.
And is this a part of the Lessons in Love workshop that you're doing?
Yep.
It was honesty, transparency, loyalty, ethical, and accountability.
Accountability, ethical actions, and then proof of alliance is that kind of that's the, do you have my back kind of, yeah. And
so when you teach these courses, what's the majority of the people that are in the audience or in your groups? Like their age and demographics, are they high school, college age?
They're usually anywhere from 20s to, I've had people in their 70s in the workshops, and it's really diverse. Could be that they're divorced, or that they've not ever been married, or they're widowed, or anywhere in between. So it does tend to be more women, surprise, than men, but we do get a fair number of men. That's increasing more and more. Yeah.
Is there any particular feedback you're getting too from these people? That's resonating with them from the course?
So one thing that we also didn't talk about is that concept of perpetual problems in relationship, that any relationship is going to have some set of what we call perpetual problems because those things are based on differences in personality or background or values. So you can't really escape that. We say choosing a partner is choosing a set of problems. So choose a set you can live with. So just that awareness that you can't escape that. It's just part of relationship, but understanding the differences and talking about them. And we sort of teach some of those conflict management skills. That's a big one for a lot of people.
How did you develop this approach to your counseling? I know a lot of it's heavy on Gottman. Is there anything outside of his research or stuff that you call on or use or have infused into this approach?
Yeah, a little here and there because, this is the bulk of what I do because I'm a trainer. I teach other therapists and do consultation with, couples therapists all over the world focusing on the Gottman approach. I love Dan Siegel and his work around it's an interpersonal neurobiology. So I use a lot of his stuff, and then I have a trauma therapy background. So I have an awareness of how trauma impacts people and their current functioning in relationship.
Does trauma? I would, from my experience and just some of the things I've seen, it just seems like trauma is a big factor in people's ability to relate or to relate in a healthy way. Do you find that in the research or any of your practice?
It's really about the being able to be in awareness of it and understand we call it kind of vulnerabilities that arise out of the trauma. And so when we do, for example, we do process fights it's called the aftermath of a fight, where we work with couples to kind of talk through what happened in this particular interaction. And part of that is kind of the enduring vulnerabilities or the triggers, like what came up in that moment. Did you feel abandoned? Did you feel powerless? And then how does that relate to your own background? It's almost like go back in time and stop really when you first felt that way, or when it feels familiar. And it's usually back to childhood. And a lot of times that's where the kind of trauma story comes out. So a lot of it is that awareness, and then helping the partners understand each other's vulnerabilities. And isn't that like emotional intelligence? Kind of, is that what it is? It could be. Certainly you need to be open and, emotionally vulnerable and intelligent to be able to sit with that and give your partners, trigger story some validity, and to be able to kind of soften and be aware of that.
I would imagine that would be more difficult for men of that particular skill or ability or vulnerability.
It can be what culturally, I think that's pretty, I'm sure Liz and Dave have that all the time. Like culturally, we don't always do a good job of, coaching and cultivating emotion awareness in boys. It's that toughness, right? Especially from certain generations. I think now people are more aware of raising their kids around emotional intelligence and being able to be vulnerable. But there is that family culture that really matters, because I've got plenty of women in my practice who never were coached or never felt safe to express emotion. So it's that, that awareness as well.
Is that a newer trend with women? Not being or not feeling safe to express emotion?
Oh, not necessarily. It's more family culture. Like if they grew up in alcoholic household or a really violent household, then it's not safe, right? You got to read the room. You got to not express any vulnerability or emotion, or it'll get kind of capitalized on. So, I would love to say that's a shift in all households, have that emotional intelligence and safety, but that's not the reality. So a lot of people have to do a lot of work to, therapy or personal work to start to feel okay to express not even just emotions, but needs too. Like to say, I need this. is a big shift for a lot of people.
Yeah. Wow. This has been.
I don't think it's too uncommon to hear like a parent say, "Stop crying," or I'll give you something to cry about. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be a very damaging family system. That's just a common phrase. I think that many adults that I've worked with have heard as children. So, yeah, we're still trying to make good by some of those things, aren't we? And trying to understand ourselves. And beautiful. It's a way of finishing growing up.
Yeah. This is so cool, though. I like what you said earlier about, you should probably, kids should get into this in at least high school to start really learning what to look for in a partner, and even just self-discovery. Like, oh, maybe I should be a little more aware of my feelings or emotions, and realize, that I need somebody who's honest, transparent. I can rely on them, and somebody that's ethical and accountable, because a lot of the influence from social media is just purely skin deep and face value.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah. I remember working at I used to shoot for a company that did live broadcasts of workouts, and one of the other guys, this one extra was I guess attractive, and I was like, yeah, but that's not everything, and you got to really get to know somebody. Just because they look good doesn't mean they're going to be a great person. I remember him just being like, what does that even mean? I'm like, is that really that foreign to you?
Makes sense.
Like, just because it's a mask, they might look good, but they might be a horrible person, or you just might not get along at all,
Right.
And I wish that was a little bit more understood. So, recognize. This has been a great conversation. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy.
Dave, what's the program we have in high schools? What is the Utah Marriage Commission? What's the program that's in high schools? Is that still alive and well?
It is. In fact, we've just revamped some things in Utah high schools this upcoming year. So now they are required to teach what's called the success sequence. All right. Graduate from before having a baby, right? Graduate from getting married. Yeah. Graduate from high school, get some college or something, marry, and then baby. Yeah. So anyway, it's talking about,
you teach that in high school. Much
more, likely to succeed in life if you follow the success sequence. So, so we're aiming to do a lot better here in Utah as far as helping them look for red flags and dating and getting out of unhealthy relationships and all those kinds of things. So,
a lot of the programs out here, I really wish they did have in other states, because I've lived in a couple other states, Illinois, North Carolina, and Florida, and these programs would be very beneficial in other places. And I'm very impressed by Utah does that.
Stacy, well done in making such a contribution to the Gottmans, really, and to all of us. Really fun to have met you.
Yeah. Thanks. Keep up the great work. You all are doing really, really awesome stuff. So keep up the great work.
Don't you back at ya.
Thank you.
Talk again.
You too, Stacy, because this is very valuable.
Yeah, helping a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission